Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining me. My name is Kim and today I'm going to talk to you about how to make pudding slime. Pudding slime is a taste-safe slime, which means that if you're playing with it with a little one and they accidentally, or maybe not so accidentally, eat a little bit of it, it's not going to hurt them. Now, that's not to say you want them to really eat it, but if they do, it's not going to in any way cause them any harm, like what might happen if they ate some slime that had boric acid in it or borax, which are the traditional slime ingredients. So, pudding slime, how do you make this? You're going to need some key ingredients like pudding, cornstarch, and some very warm water. The first thing you're going to need to do is take your measuring cup, and I have a 1/4 measure here, and you're going to measure out 1/4 cup of chocolate pudding. And I'm just opening the package here and I'm going to shake it out into the cup like this, because if it's a little bit too much or a little bit too little, it's not going to make that much of a difference. So I'm shaking that out. The other good thing about this is that because it's only 1/4, you can get a couple batches of this pudding slime out of one package of pudding. And it doesn't matter what brand pudding you use, anything will do. The other thing I want to note is I'm using chocolate pudding, and you don't have to use chocolate pudding to make your slime. Okay, I've got my 1/4 cup of pudding powder. I want to dump it in the bowl here. And the next step is to add a 1/2 cup of cornstarch. Now I've got my cornstarch, but the container's a little small, so I have a 1/4 measure. So we're going to use 1/2 cup, but I'm going to need 2 of these scoops. So I've got one, and I'm only using this for crafts, so I'm going to use my finger to level off. 1/4 cup there, and then another 1/4 cup. This, by the way, is a really good activity if you're working with a little one, to have them start to measure out and scoop on their own, because it's very, very forgiving. All right, so I've got 1/2 cup cornstarch, 1/3 cup pudding mix, and I'm going to take my whisk and I'm going to mix this up. And really what I want to do is just make sure I don't have any clumps in there, because that will make it harder for me to mix in the next step. So I'm whisking this together, and it's pretty well incorporated. So the next thing I need to do is take some of my very warm water, and I need to add 1/3 cup into my bowl. So I'm going to pour in just 1/3 of a cup here, and to mix it, I'm going to start to use my hands. But before I do this, I need to add a little bit more cornstarch. You want to make sure you add the second batch of cornstarch first, otherwise it will become a really sticky mess. Just have to trust me on that. It is really, really messy. So I've got my second 1/2 cup of cornstarch on my water and pudding cornstarch mixture, and now I'm ready to put my hands in the bowl, and I'm going to actually put a little bit of cornstarch on my hands to start with. Cornstarch is such a neat texture, isn't it? All right, so I've got the cornstarch on my hands, and now we're going to dive in. This is also something really fun to do, have your little one do with you. But you want to make sure they keep their hands in the bowl, because it is very, very messy, especially in these early stages. And what I'm doing is just grabbing that mixture and kneading it in my fist. You kind of hear that cornstarch squishing. I just knocked a bunch out, but that's okay. You can kind of see what it looks like at this stage. Very, very crumbly. You can see all those crumbles. And we're going to try to get it to incorporate. Now, if you're getting to a point where you've done this a lot and you think, oh my gosh, there is no way it's all going to come together, I just don't have enough liquid, that's okay. You can add a little bit more liquid. This one is not an exact science, so you're just kind of doing a little bit of experimenting as you go, and this turns out a little bit differently every time, which is another interesting kind of quality about this pudding slime. So we're going to keep mixing this up until it comes together, and I might only just do a section of it here to kind of show you what it might look like at the end, and then I'll show you a finished batch. Too wet. Too wet, too wet. Keep mixing. A lot of back and forth on this one. Okay. So this might be the kind of activity you go back and forth. You add a little bit more water, a little bit more cornstarch every time until it comes out just the way you want it. So that's kind of a lot of water. You can hear it squelching now. I'm going to pick up some of this that fell out. Yeah, a little bit more cornstarch here. So this is, as you can see, a very, very messy craft, right? I'm getting lots of this squelchy pudding everywhere. I'm wearing an apron today, trying to protect my clothes. That's a good idea. Wear an apron to protect your clothes, or wear some clothes that are okay to get messy, because this is super messy. And you also want to make sure, right, that you're removing all your jewelry from your hand before you get started on this. Okay. Okay. Boy, this is really getting messy, isn't it? Okay. Now I'm letting this kind of fall over my counter. If you're worried about the pudding maybe staining your counter or anything, you can of course put it on a cookie sheet first, or put down wax paper or something like that, just to protect your surface. I'm starting to really get this to look like a slime. It is pretty sticky. I'm going to have to work with this quite a bit more. And I would do that until I get it to the consistency that I want. This obviously, right, is pretty sticky. Another option you have at this point, if you don't want to continue to add cornstarch, is just to kind of let it sit for a minute on its own, because it will kind of harden up a little bit. If you've ever are working with this kind of slime and you let it sit for a while and you come back and you're like, whoa, it is way too hard, you can always add a little bit of oil to it to kind of loosen it back up. Okay, this is really starting to get to be in a great spot. Look at this. Yeah, perfect. It is sticky, but it's okay. So I'm going to take this and play with a little. I'm going to show you also my tray here. This is some that I made earlier today. It has gotten really kind of hard already, but that's okay, because I could soften it up like I mentioned. With this one, I'm going to show you a really fun thing you can do with this. So obviously you can play with it and have a lot of fun with your little one playing with this. You can also use this as a way to practice some early literacy skills. So for example, if I were playing with this slime and I rolled it and formed it into the shape of a letter that maybe I was working on, kiddo, you could show them that letter and say, hey, what letter have I made here? And I have made the letter B. So this is B, and they would hopefully say, well, that's the letter B. And you say, okay, great. What sound does the letter B make? Well, the letter B makes the sound B. So we have the letter B, and it makes the sound B. And you can practice that by saying B, 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 B. And of course, after that sound, you could take your slime back up and form another letter for them to practice. So I'm going to make the letter C, just because it's next in the alphabet there. And say, okay, what letter do we have here? That's C, and C makes the K sound. K, C, K. Do you know another letter that makes the K sound? And then hopefully they could say K, but if not, you could tell them K makes the K sound. And then you could also ask, hey, can you make this slime into a letter that you know? Maybe they know the letter E, and ask them if they could use the slime to form the letters that they know. So that's a way you could use this slime activity just to connect to some early literacy skills. Of course, it's also really fun to play with. I've seen people play with this with small toys, like little plastic insects and things like that, where kids could kind of pretend that they're digging in the dirt and find them, or find some like little small fossils or rocks or things like that. So that is pudding slime. A cool variation on this project, which I'm going to include directions to in the in the links there, is a Jello slime. And a Jello slime is a lot different than that pudding slime. It has a much different texture. Mine's hardened up a bit here. I'm just gonna get a little water on it. It has a much different texture. It can be a lot goopier. It is not something like with the pudding slime you can form it into letters. This one's not going to form so well into letters, but it is going to be a really fun, just kind of slime that you can smush around. And then of course it is taste safe, so if they do taste it, it's not going to cause any harm. You can see it's drooping there, and it's a drippier slime. So it's a lot of fun to play with, and it's also something relatively easy to make and can last a little while in your refrigerator. This one also is made with the orange slime, so it's got this really nice smell like Tang. So if you remember Tang, that might be something really fun for you. And of course, you don't have to use orange. You can use whatever flavor or color is interesting to you or your child. All right, so that's how to make pudding slime, and you're gonna get some bonus directions on how to make Jello slime. I hope that you've enjoyed this and that you have fun making slime with your little one. Thanks so much. Have a great day.